Most people struggle because they really don't understand how the mind works. So we know when it comes to the mind, thoughts are not facts and emotions are not facts either. They're offerings, they're potential information that the mind provides from us. And the issue with most individuals is that they develop cognitive fusion or emotional fusion, in which they essentially are their thoughts or they are their emotions. And when this happens, people really tend to struggle because thoughts and emotions can be very painful. So when we experience painful thoughts and emotions and we use them as fact, you can imagine how difficult it is to live life, because the way that the mind works is that it will offer up all kinds of thoughts and emotions, and the ones that typically stick are the ones that are most emotion inducing. So you'll have thousands and thousands of thoughts each day, but oftentimes the ones that stick are the ones that are the most painful to you. And if you're fused with your thoughts and you don't realize that the way that the mind works is that it just offers up thoughts and thoughts and thoughts, and a lot of them don't really mean anything. And a lot of the times the reason that they stick is because you got so kind of activated by one of them. You don't realize that these thoughts aren't you. They're just offerings of the mind. And the reason that we know that the thoughts aren't you is because you are able to observe the thoughts. So there are the thoughts and there is you, the observer. If there was true fusion, if we actually knew that this is actually one entity, you wouldn't be able to observe the thoughts. And so there's a lot of exercises that we use in psychology that teach you to defuse from your thoughts. So kind of the idea of like watching your thoughts like float by like clouds, writing your thoughts down and just seeing them as randomness. They don't necessarily mean anything. And when we develop certain conditions like OCD or generalized anxiety disorder, this essentially is just a very high fusion with painful thoughts. And so when we develop something like OCD, we have intrusive thoughts in the mind, and typically these are unwanted intrusive thoughts that cause us a lot of pain. They cause us a lot of agitation, and then we need to perform a behavior to soothe our agitation. And what can be done here is that we can actually defuse from these thoughts. So one of the elements, one of the kind of tools that we use for OCD is we teach individuals with OCD that certain thoughts are helpful thoughts, like thoughts that are going to help them, and then certain thoughts are OCD. And so we can actually label each thought that comes to the mind, the unwanted intrusive thoughts, like that's OCD. And the thing to realize here that's so important is that the mind is not perfect. The mind has all kinds of bugs. It's kind of like a website that like crashes and has issues and has like random pop-ups. Like it has issues. Like the mind has certain things that it does that aren't helpful. And we need to learn to ignore or kind of better label these types of unhelpful thoughts and emotions without getting so stuck on them. Because once we fuse with them, then it's really difficult to feel well, because essentially the mind, the way it's programmed, is that it's made to create all of this negative bias and to give you all of this random, horrible information and emotion. And the reason it does this is because it does keep us alive. But if you want to live well and if you want to be fairly content, then you need to learn to defuse from this information. Because if you're completely fused with it, you will feel horrible.